And that helps us out as teachers. If 5% of the kids are getting this question wrong, then yeah, I probably did a pretty good job teaching it. If 95% of the kids are getting the question wrong, better go back and reteach that part. So, but this isn't. I'm sure this is nothing new that you're hearing, but it's effective in a K-12 classroom. It's effective. Even a music classroom, it's effective. So I'd like to train my colleagues. I wrote the grant and told the grant committee that, hey, there are 9 people on staff right now, and I teach in a small district. There are 9 people on staff right now that use PowerPoint, and it literally is as easy as adding another slide. Really, it's that easy to use the interactivity. So I would like to train them, get them using it. As soon as I get enough clickers, I'd like to use the teaming features. I need a clicker for each kid before I do that. But that will definitely get some of the younger ones going, and probably even the older ones too. They'll get really excited about being able to beat their friends with knowledge and stuff like that. So, and I'd also like to do some polling at concerts. There's all sorts of different avenues we could use this for to make concerts maybe just a little bit more interactive. I don't want them to sit there for 2 hours, but I also want them to feel, I would really like to know what some of them are thinking. There's some creative things that can be done in concert settings with this technology. So that's my thing.
I'm really pleased what Nathan has been able to do in a short period of time. We're already sort of kicking ideas around where we can begin to use sound recordings and more sophisticated notation, graphics, and so forth on the screen. And some of the input that I received from our national listserv that I'll share at the end will also show you some other examples, the way music teachers are using this very creatively. Now, my situation was very different. In my case, I'm using it for, I just recently retired from ISU, and I do a lot of workshops nationally. And I was actually at Millikan University early last fall doing a workshop for all of the deans and directors of School of Music within the state of Illinois. They meet twice a year, and they asked me to come down and do something on the future of technology. And somebody asked about clickers. And in all candor, at that point, I thought clickers, I was pretty skeptic. I thought, that's just a toy, and you can stick your hands up just as easily. And actually, it was the head of the music department here at Eastern, Dr. Parker, who was probably the most persuasive in his response to my comment. And so much so that I went home and said, well, I better take another look at this. Well, in about a month, my colleague at Northwestern, Dr. Peter Webster, and I were doing an all-day workshop for the National Association of Schools of Music. And these are all the deans and directors in the U.S. This is the main accrediting body. And so it was a pretty powerful group. And I thought, well, okay, here's a chance. I'm going to learn how to use these. And Turning Technologies was really great. Sheila really got into this idea and supported me on this. And so I did about a 1-week instant training and learned how to do these slides. And as I'll share with you in a minute, the outcome of this was a real surprise to me and pretty much sold me on the value of these in this kind of a format. So on Saturday, before the NASM workshop officially conference started at the Fairmont in Chicago, you see deans and directors picked the best hotels for their meetings. I had 120 very skeptic deans and directors coming in there, and our format, it was a large hotel ballroom. We were up on this big stage. It's about as impersonal as you can imagine, and it was pretty much a lecture demo kind of setup. My colleague and I divided it into 4 subsession topics, and as I'll comment in a minute, we built in the responses with the clickers for each of those sessions. And we had the clickers at their seat with these lanyards that Turning Technologies had provided when they came in and ready to go. And we didn't have a participant list. Everything was anonymous, so that they didn't think they were being recorded anyway, which would have made these deans very nervous. So. The second time I used this, I'm the National Secretary for the College of Music Society. Our national conference is in Salt Lake City in September, and we had a board meeting 2 weeks ago in Dallas. And I was trying to convince the board that maybe we could try using these for a couple of key sessions, like with our keynote speaker and with our annual national meeting and stuff like that, as part of the conference. So there's one part of this board meeting every year that goes on forever, and that's we pick what the national topic or theme is going to be. And I've never known it to take anything less than 3 hours. It's one of the things, everybody has their input, and it just takes forever to try to get anybody to come to a conclusion. So I said, could I demonstrate this with the idea of Salt Lake City, and let me construct some questions for the national topic to kind of guide our deliberation. So I'll share a couple of slides with you here in a minute. So part of this at Dallas was to sell them also on the concept of using this for the national meeting, and I had anonymous voting with an on-screen counter. I just have used this a third time. Just this past weekend, I was at Bowling Green University doing a workshop on music technology as part of a regional conference there, and that was my first attempt. I forced myself to use the Mac version because I'm normally a Mac user, and that went pretty well, except I want to talk to the R&D folks. I see the Arthur brothers sitting back there. I take it you're brothers? Yeah. I have, some suggestions with the Mac versions. So, I integrated this right within our PowerPoint presentation. I designed items to get them thinking about the topics that we're going to present in all the three different venues I talked about. I wanted to gather some data from them related to the topic so they could see that and share it. And then I wanted to help them review or relate to what we had covered in the workshop presentation. Again, everything was anonymous voting, and probably the two slides I got most comfortable with were the horizontal slide and the priority ranking. I found those two work very well in these situations. So a real quick demo here. By the way, part of my nervousness was I'd been loaned these 120 clickers, and I was really nervous about 120 people at this huge ballroom. So I made it. This was a slide I made up. If anybody would like to borrow this, it actually was quite effective. Told them they couldn't buy their dinner with it. They couldn't. These are deans. I told them they couldn't deactivate helicopter parents. Anybody know that phrase? Huh? What that means? That's parents who are connected with their students at college by cell phone 4 or 5 times a day. It's a well-known national phenomenon, and it won't open your garage door. So. And I also told them I had 2 federal U.S. Marshals undercover in the audience, and they had to figure out which one of them. That got a few laughs. All right, here's a few of the slides that I use with the deans. How would you, and you can practice, just pretend you're a dean of the School of Music right now. I just gave you all a raise. How would you best describe the faculty's music technology skills compared to their students? I try to find some things that would actually make them think a little bit about it. So I think we have 8 in here. About the same as their students. Actually, they judge their faculty skills better than their students. It was an interesting discussion point. What are the 3 main sources used for technology fun? I was nervous about this format. I don't know how many of you have tried this, but they caught on to it right away, and it worked fairly well. So you want to pick your first priority first, then second and third. So pretend you're a dean. You get 3 votes in order. The response time slowed down a little bit here. Oh, we got 9 responses. We got a new person. Yeah, that pretty much parallels. Now, the private schools would give you more private and corporate donors than the state schools. Requiring students to buy a bundle of cross-platform music is something we could implement in the next 3 years. Again, you see, I try to design things that would get them to kind of think about really important kind of future things in technology. So go ahead and vote. Yeah, they weren't quite as generous. They were pretty neutral on that one. I had to think about that one. Now, at the beginning of this day-long workshop, we gave, in their handout, they had, these are the 10 key things that we want you to walk away thinking about. And so to summarize and bring the workshop to a close, we made them read through that and then pick what they thought were the 3 points that they felt strategically would be important to them in their own music program. So go ahead and, again, you get to pick 3 in order. Got one more? Yeah. Research and training. I can promise you they didn't pick that one. Faculty support and training, though, got a really high mark in most cases with their responses. Integrating technology into the curriculum was a real high one.